Nigeria has an estimated population of about 260 million people. 70% of this population are under the age of 30, and this makes the Nigerian society a youthful population. As at 2020, 34.9% of Nigerian youth were unemployed, and there has been an increase at this rate. Brought to you from MFM Magodo Youth Church, the citadel of testimony and power. This is a discourse regarding the state of the nation. We have three esteemed individuals that will be discussing on the youth participation in nation building. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Hi, I'm Rotimi Inyoluwa.
My name is Adewale Onugbeson.
My name is Toyin Akoni Folorunso.
And my name is Ine Amakanwade.
How can the youth be a part of the nation building, Mr. Akoni?
Well, good evening, everybody. I believe there is a fundamental principle or ways by which youth, you and I, can be part of a nation building. One, through our skills, which could be either technical or soft skills. Number two, through some sort of knowledge or experience that we've acquired in our various life. So people will sort of wonder, like, okay, when we're talking about experience from the youth, in what way? This is what I mean. You've gone to school, you are a graduate, you've gone through the NYSC. We believe or we expect you to at least have a sort of experience as to some of the things you need to do that will make you to be successful. So having talked about the experience, the skills and all of that, there is a path to what we call growth and development. And we believe that this set of particular individual called youth, they must or might have undergone such series of life journey. Then the last one is their participation or involvement in discourse. So discourse could mean different things. It could be political, it could be economical, it could be business, it could be religious. But basically, they need to be involved, they need to participate. So all of this together, when we consolidate it, might be some of the contribution of what is expected of them to bring to the table in nation building. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Wale, do you agree with him, or do you have a different view of what he has said?
I don't have a different opinion to what Mr. Folorunso just said. In short, I super agree with him, because when you look at countries that have, grown, developed across the world, superpowers now, I mean, one of the indices through which these countries have over the years developed, and emerged as a world power, one of those indices is the contributions made by, citizens who, in their own, personal and individual capacity, have, contributed towards the development of that country. Yeah. And when we talk about citizenry now, I mean, we have the demographic analysis. And when you look at every countries of the world, young people make, a significant percentage of that citizenry. So young people, like he has said, experience, skills, technical or soft, building capacity in your life journey, whether you are in corporate or you are in an entrepreneur, you need to, bring all of these things together and, of course, contribute towards the development of your country. So I quite agree with him.
Okay, so I like that we are starting the conversation with lots of agreement. Hopefully we keep the energy like that. But you've said great things: nation building, capacity, getting involved in discourse. But where does nation building start from? Does it start when people have left university, that I'm talking about, as it relates to us as young people? Does it start when we enter university or secondary school, or when we start working, when we get our first employment experience? When exactly should nation building start amongst young people, or participation in nation building?
Okay, can I take that?
Yes.
Just so something just ran through my mind just now. So I remember one of the courses I took while I was in the universities a philosophy course, and a part there talks about naturalism school of thought. There is a particular philosopher that speaks to what you are talking about now. That's J.J. Rosseau. So he talks about how inequality starts from home. That the process of a nation becoming a great nation, or we having a great society, the role of family, the father, the mother, and then the children cannot be overemphasized. What do I mean? The path to a great nation that all of us we are hoping for starts from the family. Your children, they have some kind of character or behavior you overlook. They are still kids. You're expected to be accountable for some of their actions. Because at that point, they don't know the right from the wrong. So just to cut it short, without taking you guys through many journeys, the path to nation building starts from home. Right there, when you are small, because that's actually the micro society. How we uphold the family values, how we teach each other to be stronger together in the face of problem, how we conquer our problem, and how we come out victorious each time we have issues. So all of these are what usually dovetail to a larger society. So you see people in the adolescent stage or early youth stage, you begin to wonder, you begin to question their upbringing, such that you cannot even trust them with a responsibility or entrust them with a leadership position, whether in their university or their first year at work. So it is family. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah. Agent of socialization for every individual, of course, like my dear friend mentioned, of course, starts with the family. Of course, it's a process. And like he did mention the thought of Rousseau. Just like he mentioned that when people are being developed, in terms of character, in terms of capacity, in terms of courage, in terms of competence, right from the family, of course, the process or the path through which they need to give that to the society is also, explained by Rousseau in what is called the social contract.
You guys are bringing philosophy into this.
So, in social contracts, you bring all of these things that you have gained or you have, built from your home, and then you exchange that, with the society, larger society, as the case may be. So, I agree with him. Family is very, very important.
Thank you.
Okay.
Over to you.
Family can be relative. Not everybody has the opportunity to have family. Because when you explain this, you mentioned father, mother, children that will have siblings.
Guardian inclusive.
Well, guardian inclusive. But you know, with the kind of society we have right now, there are people, there are youth, individuals, teenagers who are not opportuned to have that family, that kind of family that would help them or give them the ideology or set their minds in a way that they need to be part of nation building. So what do you think, or what do you see for people like that who are not opportunity to be in that environment that can help them be a part of nation building?
Okay, so I'm going to cite a case study of one of the Yoruba adage. I don't know if I'm permitted to.
You are permitted, as long as you can.
So Yoruba will say, Ọlọ́run ò kì í fáyàn ní orí kó má fi ọ̀rùngbọ̀n rọ́pò. Meaning that you cannot be so unfortunate at every front. So we are all born differently. We are all born the same, rather. But ability to make changes are quite different. So what do I mean? The fact that you don't have a father or a mother or a defined family to raise you or a guardian doesn't mean that you cannot still have the basic idea of what what you should do as a good person. So that's why we have a powerful institution. The institution is as old as existence. That is religion. We've seen many child roaming around the streets. They kind of trace their success to what that particular institution has done in their life. A case study of a former president who was an head of state during the military era, who was also a president during the democracy. He never stopped to acknowledge a particular institution, Christian, a particular church in Christianity, how that particular church catered, fostered, and sponsored him throughout his academic career. So this was a man who lost his parents when he was small. In fact, he was an orphan. So what am I saying? For those who are able to privilege or maybe graced enough to be exposed to that particular institution early enough, that covers for some of their shortcomings in a way. And also, to now cover everything you said, yes, even people with parents, father, mother, that they are doing well, that still doesn't justify that you are going to be successful. In fact, that is not the yardstick to measure the extent at which you are going to be a good person in society or be useful. Basically, the interrelationship between the family and the larger society is just like a circle. The society is the bigger circle, while the family is small. But there is something I need us to understand. It is you and I, your family, my family, his family, that makes up the larger society. As much as we are trying to tone down the fundamental importance of family in this conversation, we should not forget the fact that if you lack a perfect understanding of how you should behave when you are outside, you are going to learn in hard way. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Mr. Wale, what do you think the future holds for the Nigerian youth?
I think for, say, like 5 years now, people have been talking about the future of work, the future of money, the future of energy, the future of the future, everything, the future of education. Everything is about the future. And I mean, not to, sweet-tongue my words, I think the future is bright for young people. I mean, young people who are dedicated, young people who are backed by vision, young people who, learn the basic values that they need to thrive in a society. So, not to, stress the conversation, the future is bright for young people. We just need to, do the needful, take destiny in our hands, and of course, expect that future.
Thank you. Mr. Koni, the Nigerian youth have been tagged lazy.
Okay.
Does that affect the way you see the future for the Nigerian youth?
Oh, well, that's actually a fallacy.
Okay.
Yeah, that's. I could recall when the president made that statement. There were a lot of reactions from different quarters. There is something I do know. For every particular demography in a society or a country that belongs to that age bracket called youth, you are expected to be responsible and hardworking. What do I mean? That is a particular time that determines whether you are going to be successful or you'll be otherwise. That's a period where the extent at which you are going to go far in life are majorly determined. And Yoruba will say, Igba meta ni igba ida. That a woman's life is in 3 seasons: the morning, the afternoon, then the night, the evening. Thank you. So we all know how we can classify that. And they made us understand that if you play with your noon, which we can say youthful days, there is a tendency that you might end up not, realizing your potential. So having said that, I don't need to say much. Having understood that you need to work, you need to go out and make things happen. You need to acquire the relevant skill for you to stand shoulder to shoulder with your contemporaries around the world. So what does that tell you? It says that you need to go extra mile and do more than what you are expected to do, especially, let me narrow it down to Nigeria, a place where the odds against us are so stacked, and somehow it's negative. You are expected to work times 10 of what some of your contemporaries in the West or Asia are doing. So you see a young man who sponsored himself, or you see a young lady who probably knows how she graduated from school. From all of that, she managed to get a job, wake up at a very early hour of the day, and for those of us that live in Lagos, you can relate with this, you enter the traffic. You see a young man who is juggling between one event or the other to cover an event. I'm talking about the creative guys. You see a lady or a guy in fashion industry who is trying to meet up with a deadline. You see a young man who is, after teaching in a secondary school, and still taking extra coaching job from one particular family house to another family house. You see a young man who decided to go back to a farm, go back to agriculture, having, juggled between different applications, different interviews to the other. But he or she decided to go back to the roots by going into agriculture. You see a young man who is riding an Okada, where you know that your body is the body of the Okada, which Yoruba will say ara ni body. You see a woman struggling to sell pure water and plantain chips inside the hold up and trying to pursue a car from one pole end to another pole end such that she will not lose the money. And above all, you see a young people, despite what they've been through, they never give up. They are trying to create a path, forge a path for themselves. And these are sets of people that their leader feels that they are lazy. So there is a general assumption. An average Nigerian is an happy person. Whether you are young, whether you are old, I don't want to know the tribe that you belong to. There is a gene of happiness in our blood. So I
don't want to interrupt.
Okay.
I just really need to ask this question.
Okay, please do.
Timely that you said there's a gene of happiness in our blood. I'd like to think that there's also a gene of fear in our blood, especially for us young people. Because you've cited all these examples of young people, defying the odds, a young woman in the traffic, young man on the bike, on the farm, on the road by 3 a.m. Sorry to the people in Lagos, and things like that. There is also that fear of wanting to have a better future.
Okay.
Compared to what the present is. And like you rightly said, this is our afternoon now. We've come from our morning. This is our noontime. We are trying to secure a good evening.
Thank you for that.
That sounded very good. We're trying to secure a good evening, but there is that also that gene of fear. So let's bring this conversation now back to, we're happy, yes, we're also afraid as young people when it comes to nation building. You don't want to be the person who is seen as a leader, but who has nothing to his name.
Okay.
right? You don't want to be that leader, that youth leader, or that thought leader who is always dishing out great things, great ideas, but you do not have any business to call your own. You don't have anything that people will call you and identify you with. And so I think that's one of the reasons why, in as much as we keep talking about youth involvement in nation building, we don't have so many people, because they want to focus on their business. They know that the business, even if it fails, at least they put their all in it, right?
Okay.
And they can get their money back. But if you fail in leadership, you cannot get money back from it. So let's see now. Let me ask you, and I'm also going to direct the question to you, Mr. Adewale. How can youth combat this fear to the point that as they're building their businesses, they're also actively involved? They're not waiting for one time to, they're not waiting to do one thing at a time because they don't want to be completely disappointed, if I can use that word. How can youth go around this fear, this gene of fear that we don't really like to acknowledge? Yeah. We like to acknowledge the gene of happiness. How do youth battle that gene of fear?
Let me let Akoni take a little rest so that I can put his stuff together and just chip in, and let's walk down the memory line of history. Of course, I'm an historian, so I'll be able to tell you a lot of stories. Pre-independence, the last 10 years to independence, Nigeria was so, prosperous. When I mean so prosperous, from agriculture alone, say by 1948, returns from agricultural export was put to about 51 million pounds as at that time. And by some few years, 4 or 5 years towards independence, it has increased to say 81 million pounds. All of these things were what propelled people to fight for independence. And I have this theory to prove how prosperous Nigeria has been. Now, if possibly the colonial master knew that sometime, some way, somehow, oil will be discovered, he probably wouldn't have let us go. That's and then this wealth keeps coming. And what was the result? The result was that people began to build hope in what we call the sort of hope that people build in countries like America, like a place of opportunity, freedom, liberty for all. This was the same hope Nigerians had in Nigeria as at that time. People like the foremost leaders then, Obafemi Awolowo, all of them, right? Or the Anthony now. These guys were in their late 20s and early 30s. And they were actively involved in politics, leadership, everywhere, even globally. And also in part of our conversation, I have to bring in women, because I'm an advocate for women inclusion, women leadership at some point too, because when we talk about young people, we're talking about young men and women, and the women are somehow excluded too. A woman like Funmilayo Ransome Kuti, who was always everywhere. Why? Because there was this hope that the country gave them. That hope is not there now. I did a rough research of the pattern of migration of Nigerians, young Nigerians especially. Let's leave the old people, because there are categories of old people who are, young Nigerians who have migrated from 2015 up until this time. You'll be shocked. Let's put that aside. Try to understand why they left. Fear. The fear of the unknown, the fear of uncertainty, the fear of non-accomplishment. You have great potential as a young person, you have great ideas, you have great capacity, but the enabling environment to get those things, materialized is not there. I'll give you an example. In a country like Tanzania, under the former president John Magufuli, when Magufuli came on board, there's this recurring idea that he brought back, because it's something it seems to be very common with Tanzania. Under their first president to say, Julius Nyerere, those people had a country where wealth was created. And there was even of that wealth. To the point that, I mean, all you just need to do is to ideate. And when you ideate, I mean, there is that enabling environment to get your ideas, materialized. That enabling environment is not there. And it is simple. The result is that young people are afraid. And just to bring it home, I am afraid too.
So if all the young people keep running away, what happens to the country?
Now, we're just talking about the issues now, right? We have to now look into ways to addressing that. Now, another thing is that while I advocate for people, taking bulls by the horn, taking their destiny in their hands, why they leave? Don't also forget that diasporans contribute to our economy too. And they contribute to national development, even though we as a country have not done so much to recognize how much, diasporans, can contribute towards development of a country. Of course, everybody cannot leave. But, those who have left, they can contribute significantly to, let's say, for instance, you're asking if everybody leaves, who would, these people, if they are opportunity to leave, for instance, and they establish businesses. Look at the other day, Twitter was banned. A lot of small businesses shut down. Greatly affected. So these are the things that, aggravate the fears of young people. And fear is a very, very dangerous phenomenon. In short,
sorry.
Oh, we have to
cut.
Oh, why?
No, it's good.
Okay.
The record reached its limit, so we have to.
So we've talked about how we have the happy genes and how fear is a dangerous phenomenon that causes people to run away in search of better realities,
Yeah.
not just better futures. But this brings me to the next question, because we are Christians. We are Christians, we are youth. So we are Christian youth. So that means a lot. First, we are youth.
We are
have
body of
energy,
Christ.
and then we now have the life of Christ. And we follow the Bible. So it means that when we're reading and taking the Bible as reference, it was really the young men in the Bible who did amazing things. So let's bring it back to nation building in Nigeria. What is the roadmap for Christian youth that want to venture into the political space? Mr. Akoni.
Oh, okay. While I was citing the case and scenario of a then president who was raised by a church, I forgot to let us know that most of the great things that he did, they were when he was a youth. So basically the role of the roadmap, or the role of what we as a Christian can do, as Christian youth, like you said. First, we need to understand the problems that we are facing. So many of us, we don't really understand the problem that this country is facing. Our problem goes beyond no electricity, bad roads, and bad economy, or unemployment. Our problem is like a root, and there is no how. I'll be making a case, but I'll be talking about the society and then the family. But I'm not talking about the family in a father and mother context like this. I'm talking about family in the church. Because church operates in such a way that everything is a family. You're a member of a particular church. What are your roles in that church? Are you just a member that comes to church every Sunday? You don't attend Bible study. You don't go to midweek service. You don't join online meetings. Yours is just to go to church Sunday. Yours is just to...
You're not even a group member.
So yours is just to go to church. I used to be like that before too, right? But we get to understand it more. Yes, you can go to church every Sunday, but I bet I'm putting it to us here that most of the teaching, you understanding the word of God, you can't capture it only on Sundays. So now take it down, you becoming part of a particular sales or activity group. Leadership is a journey. Leadership at all levels, whether in government or in corporate or even in your family. Leadership is a journey. The problem is that this is not particular to Christian now. I'm speaking on general term. Everybody wants to lead. Nobody wants to follow. Do you guys get me right? Everybody just wants to be the face. If some people, most of the people, whether ladies or guys, the department where everybody wants to serve in church is ushering.
No, I don't agree. I think it's the choir.
So
I
wait.
think it's ushering because when people are seated, you are standing, everybody can see.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Yini. Thank you, Yini.
Well, I disagree. I think it's
Okay.
visitation. You know, you hit.
So I would. You all can disagree. You all can agree with me, but I'm putting it to us. Most of the people that I know, so let it just be my own idea now. Most of them want to be in ushering departments. I don't want to talk about reasons. Then you talked about choir. It's not everybody that can sing. But the ushering department doesn't require you to sing like Nosin Oyekan or Victoria. Oh, thank you very much. But you see, everybody just wants to be the face. Fine. Leadership is also an habit. You have to develop it. Some people, they are born leader. But it's not the day that we give birth to a child that such child starts walking. Even language and speech development has a face. You have to code before you babbling, before you now start talking. You have to crawl before you can start walking or running. So as a youth Christian, right, we need to start taking roles. It doesn't have to be leadership roles. Be part of your church growth. This particular church that has given me so much, what is my contributions? What is my roles? How am I making difference in this particular church? A church is doing a program, whether a skill acquisition program or a normal evangelical or revival program. How are you trying to look within your circle to touch life through that?
All right. So I like how you talked about looking from within first before looking outside. So let's talk about somebody who has done all these things. The person has consciously been a part of the church, has joined the department, is active, is bringing in more people, is just really making the work that is being done in the church more productive by their participation. And now this person wants to go outside to do something, but there's this fear of, people have already said politics is dirty. They don't want to tarnish their holy image. They don't want to stain their white with the mud of politics. How do we handle this? Because I don't personally believe that politics is a dirty game.
Thank you.
But how do we handle this as Christian youths that have that inhibition at the back of our minds that politics is a dirty game?
So let's calm down. I like to lay emphasis a lot. Analytical. So you probably enroll for carpentry or how to sew a shirt. You learn all the skills. What is expected of you is to demonstrate or practicalize it. You are good in church. You are so talented. People see you as problem solver. Just imagine in your mind, fear aside, the dirtiness in politics aside, imagine in your mind this particular gift that God blessed you with. Imagine if you take it just a step beyond your current dispensation. How many lives are you going to touch? So we have brothers and sisters who are doing so well in their streets. They greet everybody. You go to their house. If you enter their house with tears, you are coming out smiling. imagine you replicating that in a larger society by coming out of your shell. Remember, put fear. We address fear. We address the dirtiness of the politics. We are talking about you preparing yourself. You've built yourself to the point that whenever you appear in a particular gathering, people always resonate with your personality. Nothing stops you from taking such talent, such impact that you have made within your local environment and take it to outside. So the moment you make that decision, you've conquered your fear. Meaning we've addressed the fear. Inability of you not to take that bold step, that fear will elude you. I might not quote that part of Bible correctly. If righteousness refuse to what? Can you help me complete that? Refuse to what? To participate in the affairs of the common man, there will be problem.
Okay.
There will be. So we leave everything for them. We have this idea that let them do it. And we fold our hands that things are going to get better without getting involved with all those good qualities and character that our pastors in church, the word of God, we were so blessed with. And we decided to keep all these good things to ourselves without letting the world to enjoy from that mercy, favor, grace, and anointing. What do you think will become of us as a youth Christian? So on the side of the dirtiness of the politics, fine. There is a particular adage. I'm going to go against that adage in this context. When you are in the Rome, you behave like Roman. I don't believe that you should always behave like a Rome if you are in the Roman. Why? In the context of politics. So you join politics today, right? And they are asking you that this is how we always do it here. Does that mean that is the only way?
That's the only way. They have to follow it.
Yoruba will say on waja.
Of course.
Different angles, different sources, thank you, takes you to the market. You can bring a perspective. If the ways that they always address their problem or solve their problem is to go the other way, which I don't want to mention, you can introduce the spiritual.
Okay,
That is you.
I'd like to interject here.
Okay,
you
good.
mentioned introducing a different way. Introducing a different way. I agree, but how do people, and I would like you, Mr. Dewale, to take this. Why should people listen to you when you come with something new? Who has been listening to you before?
Most people don't even like change, especially if they've been used to a particular
Exactly.
way, a particular style.
People have been used to a particular
And
style.
Some of the things they will say is, you are just new, you are just coming, we've been here, we are experienced, so why would you think your new way would work?
Would
Or
work.
Why should we follow
Thank
you?
you very
So
much.
before Wale will come in,
Okay.
just 2 minutes, I will make sure that I don't take you guys' time. Do not forget, this conversation, we built it from one point to another point before we now get to the dirtiness of the politics. Don't forget that we started from you being good, you being identified with something special, some of the contributions that you've made in church.
Is making contributions in church enough?
No, wait. I didn't talk about church alone. I took it further to your immediate environment. How you are entering your streets. And the little children or some of your contemporaries, they see you as, oh, welcome. Or somebody who is not even a Christian comes to your house with tears and that person is coming out smiling. So there has to be a track record before people will accept your idea. So that takes me, I like to speak in parable. So Yoruba will say, Ti Hausa ba ma gba nkan lowo a medicine. That is, if an Hausa man is going to take your medicine or your medical prescription, he or she will ask you, have you experienced that ailment? So you don't give what you don't have. That is the summary. You cannot give what you don't have. You know this person is is a member of particular church, is the leader of this particular church. How do we measure performance?
Great. So, love that you said that. So, okay.
But we've also had situations where you see all these boxes that you've clearly highlighted.
Okay.
People tick, or a particular person ticks it, tick, 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 tick. But when they get there, what you expect of them to do, they will not do, despite the fact that they have the track record, their immediate environment, their neighbors, their church, their members,
children.
the children, everything. And you will have high expectations that this person, once this person gets here, I can vouch for this person will do this person will do that. When the person gets there, you get disappointed and you start questioning yourself. You will start questioning those things the person was doing in the past. You would be thinking that, was this person doing it with a genuine mind?
Or the
Or
person
this
was just
doing
being
it to build-
performative.
exactly, being performative, so that they to attain to this level. What in a situation like that?
I like to say something.
Let's rally coming.
Okay.
I have a theory, and the theory is that with respect to leadership and governance now, and the quality of leaders that we have in office, it is important that we as a people, right, clearly, identify the quality of our leaders before you have high expectations of them. And I used to say this: who you are as a person, as a common man,
God bless you.
will reflect when you get to positions. The character, the competence. Now, and here is the answer to that. That someone you have a high expectation of, you are looking forward to, a messianic transformation, and the person doesn't do it. The answer is clear. The person is competent, he has a capacity. The answer is that the person does not want to do it. That is the answer. Because you're not going to make justification on the part, maybe he doesn't have competence, or he doesn't have character, or he doesn't have capacity.
Exactly.
It's just as simple as he does not want to do it. And you also have to be sure that this person, as a common man, has all of those characters that you are trying to remove to make justification. Okay, it just appears that he doesn't want to do it. Because truly he has the character, truly he has the capacity, truly he has the competence, he has the courage to do these things.
Okay.
But it's just clear that he doesn't want to do it.
Okay, so how?
Let me hide his
I'm
thoughts.
sorry, Mr. Collins.
Okay.
I want
Okay.
to get something out from what Mr. Dewale said. How can Christian youth build this capacity that they need to work on now, that they're in obscurity, so that when they get to the limelight as nation builders, they are going to be tried in the fire and they will come out as
I'll give you the example of Barack Obama. In short, the reason why Barack Obama, Congressman John said something. He said he has never dreamt in his life that a black man would become America's president.
Yeah, that was popular on Washington Post too.
Yes. Do you understand? Same way people have never dreamt that a woman like Kamala Harris would emerge. Do you understand? So, how did these guys do it, and how were they able to, to a modest level, deliver in office? It's simple. Look at Barack Obama. The record was there. He built the experience from someone who was a community organizer. Barack would organize to the point that he was having touch with family. So I was not surprised when Barack Obama became president and something will happen. Let's say, for instance, school shooting in Chicago, and would visit each family. You know what that means? In short, by population, America is far populated than Nigeria.
Yeah.
And you having a scenario by something happens in Maiduguri, or even in Usuka, or Abule Jesha, and the president will leave Abuja and come to your household and tell you that I feel your pain.
Like
And he's not doing it for the, the theatrics now.
clout.
That is who he is.
as a person.
You understand? So that is who he has been, because he was a community organizer going from one house to the other. So when he became president, it was not hard. And you would see someone like Barack talk to you who had lost someone, and you see them, tearing up, not because of their loss, but because of the sense of character that he has.
The empathy.
The empathy, thank you very much. So these things, he has built them over the years. And Akoni had answered that. People want to see experience.
What you've done.
What you've done. So if you get there, you either do it or you don't do it. We will make, conclusion based on the fact that you just do not want to do it, or you have done your, possible best. But, the track record is there, the experience is there, the capacity is there.
So we know.
Can I ice his thoughts? Because that icing is so important. He has, give a very relatable example. You see, there is something there is a term we use now in relationship. We call something red flags. For every human being that becomes a bad human being, there is a point, at that point, there is a particular point in their life when they are moving towards that direction. But we seem to ignore because we are clouded. That is where spirituality comes. What an average man on the street, on the road might not see. As a Christian, due to the grace of God, the journey that you've taken yourself through, the Bible, the sermons that you listen to, you were able to see beyond the common man. So do not mix it at this point. There is a clear distinction, very clear, just like between black and the white. We seem to ignore the red flag. That at one point, this person used to lie you. But because he's good, he can do this. Don't forget that this person can lie.
Don't forget that this person has a question.
God bless you. So, when you now see that trait in that person, you need to take yourself back to that memory lane. So, like he said, Barack, his acceptance speech in 2008, that is one of the greatest speech made by somebody in the US after Martin Luther King. I have lost the count of the times that I've had to watch that particular address. You see passion. You see people having to relate with this person when he was a child. What can people say about you when you were in primary school? That you used to copy somebody's notes without returning it back.
But I used to put chewing gum on their seat.
Leave that. Or when the next person wants to sit, you remove the chair. Those little things, they were jokes, right? I've done it. But these were things that we don't know. Those are the things that forms your character.
Yeah, that forms who you are, who you become as a person.
But I beg to disagree with you.
Okay, disagree. I'm here for you.
Because, no, not with everything you said, just with the part where you said if you used to pull the seats from people.
So are you on that table? Just confess I've confessed
All
mine.
things are passed away.
Okay, good.
All things have become.
Okay, good. Good. I love that.
Thank you. All right, so we've identified somebody whose character spoke for him from when he was a community organizer to when he became the president.
Let me add also, history is key. Personal history.
God bless you.
I tell people that my father fought in the World War II.
God bless you. My mother was a school teacher, my grandmother was.
History is awesome. And that's one thing we neglect in Nigeria. We don't want to care.
Where are you coming from?
Okay, so
Your
let me
streets,
ask you now.
the streets where you grew up.
Okay.
What can people see? If you go to Fagbewesa Oshogbo, you ask for Toyin Omo Yagba. There is one thing people will tell you, that boy suffered a lot when he was growing up. So whatever that guy is doing now, we are not surprised.
Okay, you've answered my question.
And that's why Jesus said also in the Bible, if you remember.
Tell her.
He was asking them, I mean, who do people say I am?
Yeah.
So it's also important to, have that self-identity.
Who do people say you are?
Oh, is that my question now? People say I'm someone who tried, so much to make impact.
I love it.
You know?
Yeah, so it's important that we take.
And now that you know, in case I want to run in the next.
So all those ones, they are just by the way. So
Yes.
continue. Sorry.
So now that we know the importance of history and character, how can Christian youth take part in politics in a way that brings more people to them? Because we know that at the end of the day, politics and nation building, they go pari passu.
God bless you.
We cannot take one and leave the other. Yes, there are times when people will say they are doing things independent of the government. They are giving free water, creating boreholes, providing health care, doing social impact projects and all those things. But at the end of the day, you can only do so much. It is the government that will be recognized, the government or the local government in the community that will be recognized. So Christians want to get into this field now.
Okay.
They want to be involved, And we've talked about how we don't have to pay attention to the dirt because we can come in differently. But how do we do more in terms of politicking? And I didn't want to use this word, but how do we do politics with the people? Because at the end of the day, even if people like you and the things you do, you need to be able to convince the constituents of that area. And also, I'd like to mention at this point that most of the time we focus on the big things. We focus on the presidency. We focus on governorship. We focus on House of Assembly and the National Assembly and, to be senators and rep members.
Yeah.
Many of us are not looking to be local government chairman, or to be
A councillor.
People always,
we're always going
they miss the
up
steps
there.
and just jump. And
So how can we redirect?
Yeah.
That's the question now. How can we redirect our minds to not be afraid of playing small? Because that is not the end. It's great to dream big. It's excellent to dream big. But how do we keep Christian youth encouraged to not play small? Yes, we know all our futures are bright, but we have to start from somewhere to get somewhere. So how can we encourage Christian youths that want to be involved in politics and nation building not to be afraid to think small?
I personally believe that Christian youth are doing a lot already in that regard. I think what we need to do more is visibility. Right? Be seen. I mean, the world is so crowded now. Like, so crowded. That, a young person was telling me, oh, I think you're the first class. And there was no, this kind of, some sort of
Celebration.
pause.
Yeah.
Like, everywhere is crowded. Someone had finished with 5.0 before University of Lagos, for instance. So
Yeah, you have to really
So-
do something to make you stand out. Sorry,
Okay.
interject. Now, just about everywhere being crowded. This guy that is currently doing handling chairs in slums.
yes,
I heard he
Sunday.
started years ago. And
Yes.
nobody knew about him. Nobody knew who
I saw
he was.
the goal that he wrote in 2016 or 19 thereabout.
Nobody knew who he was. It's just this year that is like the heavens.
Let's use the word blow.
And he's everywhere now.
And it's everywhere now. And then people were thinking it was something he started. But when he starts posting throwback pictures of people, of the kids he was trying to empower in Marco and all that, you will not realize that, this guy has started this thing way back. But just to watch this point, that everywhere visibility is really important. Everywhere is really crowded.
Consistency
apart
too
from-
matter.
Yeah, consistency. Because imagine if you are giving up on himself. Because I'm not blown.
Nobody's
I'm not in
seeing
the
what I'm
spotlight.
doing.
Exactly. Nobody's seeing what I'm doing. Okay, if you are giving up at that point in time, nobody will know who chess is long as the people will not be looking for it from different parts of the world.
Yeah, you're
And all
right.
of that.
So,
Do you understand? So visibility,
consistency.
consistency is very. And also, since we're talking about it from a spiritual point of view, prayer as well. Because why did he not blow all those years? So maybe even the Bible says that there's a time for everything. So maybe this is just his appointed time. There are some people that they didn't get their appointed time because they were not consistent, or they got tired, or they decided to go dirt
Cut corner.
or cut corners. Thank you very much.
and I also think we have a problem of people living, a superficial life. A number of young, I don't want to use the word a lot, a number of young persons are living superficial life. You know, portraying a different version of yourself to the world.
Okay.
Like, be who you are. Me, for instance, even if I become Nigeria's president, I'm going to eat bread and beans, like plantain. You understand?
Yeah.
Can I come in now? So let me just quickly say something, right? I need us to understand the kind of expectations that society has placed on us as a Christian. Sometimes they forget that you are a human being like them. The same air that they breathe, that's the same air that you too breathe. The same water that you drink, that's the same water that they drink too. Fine. It talks about feasibility. Most of the things that we young Christians are doing, we don't document them. We don't reference. Some people, they were so good when they were in school. They were activity leader of these. But ask them for reference, they can't.
I'm guilty of that.
Thank God.
I was a speaker during my days at the University of Lagos, but man, I don't think I have a picture to even.
It's not even about picture alone.
You know.
So memories should be preserved. Then how do we preserve the memories? What we should talk about. A case study. At every point in your life, if you are so desired to be a leader or unquote, you have to be working towards you becoming a leader. There is a pastor in Lagos. I don't want to mention his name. He said he has been on the journey of pastoring for over 20 years. Guess how old is that pastor? How old that pastor is? Just a few years above 40. So from when that person doesn't even know what life is all about. So take that perspective to a real life situation. At what point do we break out? At what point do we break in? We've all agreed that we don't want to start from the little things. I see posters of young people. Now, this is not about Christianity anymore. I see poster of young people. This one is contesting for the governor's also state. I will just pause and relax and laugh. Then you ask for their story, where they are coming from. You go back to their university. It's not about Luther. What have you done? It's not about you being the cost rep. It's not about you being the member of SRC. It's not about you being member of all these journalists or something. We call them ACJ in OAU. What have you done? What you've done could only be measured. At some point in my life, I was a teacher. It could be measured based on impact. And those are intangible something.
Yes.
Because you cannot touch it.
Yes.
There's something you can feel.
Exactly. People get to experience.
So as a young Christian who wants to break into political circle, you are going to a place where they will tell you that this is how we are doing it. It will take wisdom, spiritual warfare, and enough patience to take stone or meat from the mouth of lion. So don't let us mix it. Feasibility is the bedrock in our story. Many people, they've done so well while growing up. I'm guilty of that. You guys won't believe that. When I was small, I'm talking about 5 to 10 years old of my life, I used to live with my grandmother. I share this story almost all the time with people. That this is, if today I become a pastor, that woman shouldn't be surprised. Why? This is a woman that will wake up in the middle of the night and she will open the window in our house and she'll be praying for all our child and the grandchildren. This is a woman that if you don't go to church with her on a Sunday, you are not going to eat that day. So what is that? Discipline. What Christianity taught us in this life mostly is about discipline. The church has done the best that they could. The church has built you in such a way that you should go out to be a good ambassador and role model. How prepared are you? How prepared? How prepared are you to take off from that little things? They call landlord meetings. You say you don't have time, that you want to pray, and you've been gossiping in the morning. How prepared are you? Join political parties. You have to be involved. See, God bless you. So Yoruba will say, "Oh, simbe onibawo na se pin."
What does that mean? Because I'm
Means you are not there, yet you are asking how did they share it.
okay.
You have to see. See.
It's not here.
Even the Bible tells us, right, that we should not judge anybody. Most of the things that some people do, this is not about Christianity, it's just normal human nature. We tend to judge people even before we hear them speak. Just get involved. Forget about the dirtiness, forget about the fear, just take a step. Do you know that if you don't take a step in your life when you were small, you are not going to walk?
And part of that involvement you mentioned is that the bigger picture that people feel like, oh, it's dirty, it actually starts from, you know, the small, I mean, politics is in levels. When you get involved with the world and you begin to influence the world, and if you, me, and she, everyone get involved at the world level and then we begin to change things, it is that word that would metamorphose into the, you know?
Yeah.
Very simple.
You don't join politics by going to the APC office in Abuja. No, you will join at your ward.
From what?
And then when you join, I join, you join, even the pastor joins, right? I mean, and we're all there in the ward. They call ward meeting, I mean, at every ward, say we should be 200, 100 are Christians. So,
Okay, so I just want to say something.
Cut us.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I know the question centers around the roadmap for Christian youth called.
Take that again, sorry.
The roadmap for Christian youth called. I'm trying to call your attention to the word called into the political sector. The political sector is not for every Christian youth. That's why
Agreed.
it says called.
I agree.
If you are not called,
I agree with you on that. I agree, and I have something to back your
because
idea
you
up.
called into something else that is not the political sector. We have already established that we have different sectors. You can build the nation without even it being from the political sector.
correct.
So you have to be called into the political sector for you to even start, or for you to even take a step, like you said.
Sorry, you are the moderator, but I need to Oh my gosh. You see, the political settings, it's so deep that this is where you knowing, there's a difference between you knowing your purpose and you finding your purpose. This is where you knowing your purpose and you finding your purpose as a Christian comes in. There's something we call lose guard. There's something we still call lose focus. You lose guard, you lose focus. Some people seem to even forget why they are in a particular setting, a gathering. It can happen here in this room. Some of us might forget why we are here. The clear goal, the objective that you set, the aim of you being here. Some people might forget. Then how can we link this up? It is simple. You are joining politics not because of one thing, because you are tired, because you want to make difference, because you believe and you are convinced. You need to be convinced. You see all this thing that we are saying. It is easy for us to say it. You need to be convinced. You need to be convinced enough that you have the capacity to lead, to make impact on the line, and to align your personal objective. So he was talking about Barack Obama. Barack Obama, he sort of have some idea about what a United States should be. Fine, the political parties will bring their manifestos for you. They always have it at every level. But what is your own vision? Why are you there? Why are you going into that politics? And this is for everybody. Because I want us to be mindful of how we address this issue. You see, the interrelationship between the society itself and the church still goes back to that circle. Imagine in MFM Magodo Youth Church, as much as we are, all of us, we don't live in the same house. At least 60% or 80% of us. Now imagine each and every one of us. We go to our local environment. We start teaching leadership, backing it with the word of God. Especially those, it will interest you to know that the Nigeria youth, especially the younger ones, between the age 5 to age 14 is about 11 million. And the population of the youth in Nigeria is 44.49, 43.49 or thereabouts. You can imagine for every day you go out to make your hair at a salon, for every time that I go to a viewing center to watch football, for every time I go online, I just put something about leadership. I put something about what is expected of you and I, not just as a Christian, as a people who desire a change, rightly from their mind. How much of difference can we make? So, from you knowing and understanding your purpose, one, from you not losing your focus or lose guarding, and from you understanding what is ahead of you as a Christian as to the change that you are set out to do or to make. You ask yourself this question: I am going into politics. I want to occupy this leadership position. Is it for me to make things better for the larger audience, or to harness wealth for myself
That's a
and the
question.
generation?
I like that. Are we going in to harness wealth, or are we going in to
To
secure
make
the future
for people?
us?
Mr. Adewale, the 2023 election,
Wow.
where do we go from there?
Okay.
As a people, I mean, Christian youth, Christian in general, I mean, all people of life, Nigerians in totality. I know that there's this sense of, I'll start with that, I mean, there's this sense of, I don't want to use the word hopelessness, but the hope is not really there,
Okay.
considering what people possibly expected of the current administration and what we are getting with the level of insecurity, the increase in unemployment, increase in debt, national debt now, and the level of economic growth, dollar increasing, naira decreasing every day, all of these issues, even when we're expecting a dollar to a naira as promised, and a whole number of promises. And I'm afraid that a replica of the First Republic might repeat itself, where the Nigerian people built, high hopes in the leader because they know that the country has the capacity to, actually deliver, and they didn't get that. And so, the event of the First Republic like I did said, I'm afraid it might sort of like repeat itself. But as a people, we need to take destinies in our hands. We also have to accept our fault. That, building a country that works is not something that you do every 4 years. And the common trajectory is that Africans in general, not just Nigerians, we have this culture of, coming to the ballot every 4 years and just going back to sleep. And one thing about leaders is that once they study that sort of culture, that the only time you get to be so active is every 4 years, and they know that for every action that they take, there is either little or no consequence for that action, they pursue that path. And so, as a people, we have to first accept the fault of not being, good followers, active citizens, in, holding leaders accountable. Many people are interested in holding leaders to debates, conversations, even when they are in office. Are you interested in knowing how much a kilometer of road cost, and how much was budgeted, how much was spent? All of these things are important. Now the elections are around the corner, as we always, fond of, becoming active one more time. We need to begin to ask questions. So as a matter of fact, in the last 1 year, I've been training an hashtag on Twitter, the 2023 question. You need to ask questions. What do you have to offer? What are your track record, like we've been saying here? What are your experience? What do you want to do to better this country? What solution do you have to insecurity? What solution do you have to unemployment? What solution do you have to the bad economy? What solution do you have to dealing with the debt? When the former president, Jonathan, was living in 2015, debt was just roughly about 11 point something trillion. Debt is now in 30 something trillion. So we need to begin to ask questions. It is from this question we begin to know the capacity, like we said earlier, the competence, the character, the courage of every aspirant, and not just president, because Nigerians are fond of, expecting some messianic, intervention from just one man. And with the way the constitution is so framed, one man cannot deliver them. In short, even Jesus, our Lord, our Savior, as Christians, needed disciples, right? And then to take the gospel, everywhere. So we also have president, we have 36 governors, we have 774 local government chairmen, we have 8,848 ward councillors, So we need to hold all of these people accountable, not just one man. You're interested in just being president and you don't care about, because everybody at different levels of government have a role to play. And that's why we have the exclusive list, which is the powers and functions exercised by the federal government. We have the concurrent, which is the functions and the powers exercised by both federal and state government, with the federal having upper hand. And then we have the residual performed by the local government. So everybody has a role to play. So that you also need to know that a legislator has its own separate role to play. It's in Nigeria that we expect a legislator to execute. No, they are there to make laws that would impact the economy. And then the execute. So we need to know all of these things. We have to even be educated too. We have a lot of educated but illiterate political, citizens. So we need to all of these things, and we have to ask a lot of questions. A lot of questions. I think if we can start with that, and we can now chip in by the side active participation, getting your PVC, and not just getting PVC because you want to use it to open a bank account. You are getting your PVC because you are going to be active, you are going to come out on election day, you are going to vote for the right person with character, with competence, with courage, with all of these things, and you are going to stand by your vote. The reason why we had that monumental change in 2015 was because people stood by their vote. People did what is expected of a citizen, active citizen. And then we saw, it was difficult to rig the election. And then, of course, the common choice, emerged. So if we can start with all these things, and then once we produce that, we don't go to sleep like we normally do. We're going to hold them accountable, to all of their promises, and continue asking questions. You say you're going to make $1 Naira. Have you done it? How do you want to do it? This is what you said. I'll give an example, and I'll let Akoni have a talk there. When Barack Obama became president, and this is where we begin to know who is who by the time we ask questions. He was asked a lot of questions, and then people knew that, okay, this is the person, this is the Messiah that we're expecting. And then when he came to power, all of those things he promised, he actually made effort towards achieving them. One of them, which I'm conversant with, is the fact that America was in depression at that time, economic depression now. And then to addressing this problem, he began to ask questions. I think asking questions helps a lot, because you begin to get opinions, and then from opinions you can make sense out of it. And he asked questions. Okay, this depression, we've actually experienced it in the late 1920s during the course of after the World War I, in between, and then
Great Depression of 1930.
Great Depression, and then he asked question, how were we able to solve that? Do you understand? We've experienced it before, and we came out of it. How? And then they profiled the solution, and then it was adopted again. So nothing is new to Nigeria. Whatever we're experiencing now had once happened. How were we able to come out of it in the First Republic? Do you understand? And then we begin to ask these questions and get response to them. I think we can move Nigeria forward and have a better country.
I like to think that, adding to what you've said, that in as much as 2023, which is next year, is the general elections, that maybe some of us are late in terms of waking up, because for so many people, most of the groundwork has been done. They're only bringing to the fore the results that they've put in place in years past. So, like you said, we need to ask more questions. Do you think that there is a hesitation to ask questions because we are children of God that are supposed to respect our elders? Do you think that there is that hesitation? Because so many people, let's leave the church for a bit and come to the world, where people don't take respect as anything apart from being civil towards each other.
You think so?
And getting somewhere.
Okay.
I'm not saying people do not respect people, but I'm saying people do not hold respect
Thank
the way we hold it in the church.
Thank you.
In the world, let me not say in the world, like in secular spaces, people can ask people questions. People can confront people. And they're not confronting them because they want to incite violence or they want to incite disregard or disrespect or anything. They're asking questions because they think that something is not right and something needs to be done to address what is not right. However, in the church, us young people, I have noticed that there is just this general atmosphere of complacency when it comes to questioning the people that are ahead of us. So I'm asking you, because you're still the one speaking, Mr. Adewale, how can we address it? I'm sure some people will say, oh, not me. But if you look at it deep down, how many times, maybe you don't have to look the person in the eye, but how many times have you asked about something that wasn't going right? And this is not just for us here, this is for everybody watching right now. How many times, if you think about it, have you decided that you are going to ask about something that did not sit right with you, but you just decided that no, because you don't want to be the one to be seen as the Judas or the black sheep. So how do we address that amongst Christians?
I'm always a good Judas, by the way.
I wonder.
Akoni would agree with me that, to a great extent, I know quite a number of people within the political space. And so what I've experienced in the last 4 years is that, I've made some enemies. Either the principal directly or aides to the principal, So, personally, I ask questions a lot, and I also critique too. And about being a Christian, the respect thing, Jesus was asked questions. He was questioned, even the Christians of that time, they asked questions, question the kings, the apostles, they question kings.
Do you understand?
I don't know if I can drop in now.
Yes, you can.
I think, with respect to your question, One, our problem in that regard is a problem of courage. How courageous are you or you are in challenging the status quo? And courage is a thing of mind. Is what I'm taking everybody, all of us, including our viewers. Courage is a thing of mind. You being courageous, you facing your challenge or your problem from a total solution point of view, you have to be courageous.
Yeah.
Accountability. How accountable? Because before you will remove dirt from somebody's eye, I'm not saying that we should not ask questions. This is not a debate between us. This is me trying to bring another perspective into this beautiful conversation. Then lastly, the Negudu behavior.
What does that mean?
Negudu or Dundee behavior.
Oh, zombie.
Dundee.
Oh.
Like I try to argue this whenever people try to bring that sentiment into what our religion is between the spiritual father and then the member of the church. That Christians sort of treat the pastors like God. No. And I'm bringing this conversation again just to clear the doubt of so many people who have such mentality or thinking. It's not that we are teaching and treating pastors like God. People should not mix that thing up. It's because we see them as representative of what? Of God. It is as simple as that. Let me ask all of us. If we want to have an event, a conference, and we invite the president couldn't make it. President now delegate the power on a minister or device. Are we not going to respect that president?
Yes,
Accountability, courage, and you asking yourself the question that you want to ask the other person. Hope you are not guilty of that. Then take it further to add to what he said about your question about 2023.
Where did we go from there?
We can't go anywhere. This is the fact. And I will tell you, before you study what course, please? English in the university. My friend has masters.
With distinction.
God bless you.
Oh,
I studied economics and education. So basically, it took me 4 years, 4 solid years with blood and sweat at Obafemi Awolowo University to be an economist at that level, not even advanced level. And why do you think a course was designed for 4 years in the university before you can become a Bachelor of Science in that particular field of study? There was a systematic arrangement in the preparation of the scheme of work and curriculum. So just 1 year to election year, everybody is forming woke. Forming woke, what do I mean? Consciousness. Political consciousness should start from the grassroots. Some of us are not interested to know what is happening within our local environment, just like he said. How many times have you taken your time to watch Channels TV or whatever TV stations that you can watch? You are watching it just to be informed. See, information is key while the knowledge is power. The industry where I play as a professional, there are two things we don't play with. We don't play with information and knowledge. Because it is the information that you have that you are going to operate your knowledge on. Simple as that, anywhere around the world. And there is this saying that politics is local. That takes me back that you are like this, you fold your hand. That is where the Dundee this way becomes. You believe that by virtue of Holy Ghost fire, things will fix itself. Oh, as a Christian, we can have 41 fasting and prayers without we actualizing and practicing or going into real act of it, the real politics, getting involved, getting prepared, having the clear understanding as to why we are going there, nothing will change. Now, 2023 is simple. Well, they say change is what is constant. But there are some change that are not constant. If you don't make it happen, and that is what we are telling ourselves. Please, as much as I love what we are doing here, and I hope other church, especially the youth arm of the church, can emulate this and sort of look at a way that they can address some of the things that we've not addressed here, or some of the things that they feel we should have addressed. This conversation should be a continuous conversation. Yorùbá will say koro koro la ń ṣe kíni la ń rán fáadití. Iṣu àtẹnumọ́ràn kò kí ń ṣe kíni kò kí ń jóná. Meaning that if you do things repeatedly, thank you very much. So we don't come and be having political discussion at every five market days. Politics is a character. Politics is an ideal. Politics is a way of life. And lastly, politics is life itself. Thank you.
In addition to that, like Aristotle said, man by nature is a political animal. So it's always shocking when I see Nigerians not being so political the way they should be.
You have to get involved in the conversation.
So get involved, get your
involved.
PVC,
Ask
start
questions.
from the grassroots, ask questions.
Mobilize.
Mobilize.
Mobilize for God. It's not only church that we can win souls for.
Of course.
We can win souls for good governance.
Yeah.
We can win souls for good governance, good life, just all these basic things. That's why you see people. There's a popular saying that is going around now that when Nigerians, when Africans, or when we travel abroad, your key prayer points becomes the normal things there. Yeah. It's not only church that we can win souls for. So remember, inequality begins from home. Your greatest strength might be the weakness sometimes.
Thank you very much.